Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. It's a show that wants to wish Breonna Taylor a belated birthday. You guys know she would have been 27 years old this past Friday. Give her a quick moment of silence. All right, let's start with some hot takes. Call of Duty, also known as the biggest game in the world before Fortnite used stolen dances from black people to cart their way to the top, added a Black Lives Matter splash screen during a recent update. And they also posted a tweet about their efforts to take racist and hate-oriented content out of the game's multiplayer, where hearing a racial slur from a 15-year-old edgelord is about as common as me being taken out by a camper in Warzone. I'll be curious to see how this actually plays out. Meanwhile, I'll be over here playing Animal Crossing, where Tom Nook is teaching me the joys of unabashed capitalism while I build a virtual Jollibee. The Off-White Air Jordan 4 has a release date of July 25th for $200. Although, with a number of high-profile Nike releases getting delayed these days, there's a Virgil chance that this pair suffers the same fate. Yeah, people are never going to let that $50 go, buddy, even if you did clarify it later. But we'll see if this has any effect on his brand moving forward. It didn't hurt Kanye. By the way, did you know Ye's a billionaire now? Man, I had no idea. He doesn't talk about it at all. Well, not right now, because even he knows it's probably not the best time to talk about it. Shout out to K-pop fans for supporting the movement by taking over hashtags and other attempts by people who want to quiet us by flooding their feeds with videos and pictures of their favorite artists from groups like BTS, Twice, Super M, and others. I personally have not jumped on the K-pop bandwagon, but you better believe that when we're out of quarantine, I'll be in the front row of the first GOT7 concert in LA. Don't act like you don't know. A monumental trade went down over the weekend when an Air Jordan 13 Flint was traded for a promising young prospect, a German Shepherd puppy. Oh, look at that good girl. She's so cute. While I think it's a win on both sides, my writing partner thinks the guy who took the Air Jordan 13 Flint sold low. Great. Now I'm wondering what sneaker I would trade for an adorable corgi. Oh, just take my fragments. And if you didn't think this movement was a big deal before, now you will. Did you know that Carole Baskin now has control of Joe Exotic's zoo? Remember when Tiger King was the biggest thing in the world during the early days of the pandemic? The internet would have exploded if this headline hit like a month ago. Now, the only tiger people care about is the one with a quarantine beard. I just hope he doesn't break out with the Mac Daddy Santa look anytime soon. Actually, scratch that. Tiger needs to do the world a favor and give us the Mac Daddy Santa. We all need a laugh right about now. So, during an episode, we pitched Nike Sportswear on the idea of bringing back a handful of classic 90s era sneakers and the Yeezys. While we got a lot of positive feedback from you guys about a retro of the home white Nike Air Penny 1, the comment section was also full of Scottie Pippen fans who not only wanted a retro for the Nike Pippen 2, but also the Nike Air Swift, aka the shoes Scottie wore when he stole Patrick Ewing's soul on this vicious dunk in the 1994 NBA playoffs. By the way, sending Patrick all the well wishes as he recovers at home after testing positive for COVID-19. Sneakerheads love the Swifts for their place in the NBA history, but we here at Hard Pass want to salute the Nike Air Swift for its role in another court, the 320 by 224 pixel kind. Like, let's take a trip to Slam City.
Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. What you gonna get? Gonna get respect. What you gotta get? Gotta get respect.
Publicly, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan rarely stepped onto the court on opposing teams. Most people probably think of their later years when Scottie was on the Blazers and MJ was on the Wizards. But they did face off twice in 1994, one time during a summer charity game that doubled as their final appearance in the old Chicago Stadium, and in November when they both, according to Wikipedia, released competing video games. On the Super Nintendo, we got Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. And on the Sega CD add-on for the Genesis, we got Slam City with Scottie Pippen. Yes, even two of the greatest basketball players of all time were part of the legendary battle for 16-bit supremacy between Nintendo and Sega in the 90s. While Jordan's game was your typical licensed side-scrolling platformer like Mario or Earthworm Jim or Bubsy, Pippen's Slam City was at the cutting edge, or, you know, what we considered cutting edge at the time. Instead of using hand-drawn pixels, Slam City was a full-motion video game that actually filmed Pippen and the other actors you interacted with. The game barely resembled basketball and was more about time button presses and pattern recognition. Your goal was to earn enough respect in one-on-one games before taking on Pippen himself. The problem is that while seeing real-life people in the basketball game is a fun novelty, seeing them repeating the same moves over and over gets boring pretty quickly. And once you memorize their moves, it's over. Even Scottie is a pushover once you get the timing down. The real fun comes in the cutscenes where everybody looks like extras from early 90s movie sets in Southern California. Of course, the main event is Scottie's intro as the final boss. He walks in rocking his Air Swifts and everybody is in awe.
Yo, man, oh, it's him.
Oh, let me touch it.
Yes, girl, I too would like to touch 1994 Scottie Pippen. Wait, what? 90s dialogue is the best and the worst. Anyways, Pip actually does you a favor and swaps your busted kicks for a pair of his Nike Air Up player exclusives. He probably doesn't want to be seen on the court with somebody who can't hang with him sneaker-wise, I'm guessing. Your reward for beating Scottie, though? The end credits and what appears to be an extended version of the song Respect. Not by Aretha Franklin, but by none other than Scottie Pippen. If you've never heard Scottie rhyme, well, now's your chance.
One-on-one, and here I come, son. Just a thought that brings pressure. But so what? Cause on the court, I'll be dunking like donut.
I know. You're welcome. Look, the day is going to come when Nike finally brings back the Air Swift, and it's going to be glorious. And while they're at it, bring back the Air Up PE as well. But my hope is that Slam City will become a bigger part of the Air Swift's narrative. Maybe Nike even drops a special colorway based on the amazing box art where Scottie is somehow both hard and easy to find at the same time. Just so you know, never play the actual game though, because it's terrible. All right. It's time for the Heat Check, your only source for totally accurate sneaker releases that won't be affected by last-second delays on the sneakers app, if you know what I mean. First up, we have the Nike Dunk Low and University Red. These are June 12th for $100. It's the next colorway in the Team Tones pack following the Brazil release from a few weeks earlier. Man, it's amazing what we hype up these days, right? If you had released these a few years ago, nobody notices. Now it's a pair you'll need to get your IG likes up just to get. Next up, we have the Air Jordan 6 Hair. These are June 12th for $190. After a 1-week delay, the Air Jordan 6 actually drops, and it might actually be better than the Air Jordan 7 original. It's not the hottest of takes I'm giving you, but I can see a future where people who don't do the research think that the 6 is the OG Hair simply because of the numerical order. Guys, combat fake news. Let them know the truth. Then we also have the Air Jordan 3 Animal Instincts 2.0. These are on the 13th for $225. The only question for these really is, will I get to slide off a sports car in the 2.0 like I did in the 1.0? Someday, I hope. We have the Air Jordan 5 Top 3. These are on 13th as well for $200. With 3 marquee Jordan releases in 1 week, my guess is that one of these actually gets moved back a weekend. And since the Hairs and Animal Instinct both have sneaker posts up as of this recording and the top 3 doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one that gets a delay. I guess we'll have to see. And then for my picks of the week, we have the Nike Space Hippie collection. These drop on June 11th. The Space Hippie collection was designed to use scraps and recycled material, and the results are some of the most esoteric and beautiful releases I think so far this year. With 5 pairs dropping on the 11th, here's my power ranking of which one I'm hoping to get. So for number 5 and 4, I'm gonna say the Space Hippie 04. Those will come in extended women's sizes, but I'll be focusing on the other sneakers on this list, even though the 04 looks really, really good, especially in that Vogue colorway. Number 3, the Space Hippie 02. These are $150. The swoosh placement is very mid-2010, but the lack of a lacing system makes me wonder if it's going to be a tough fit for those with wider feet, kinda. Number 2, the Space Hippie 03. These are $180. Between the Fly Ease and Fast Fit pieces along with a higher cut, this is easily the most eye-catching pair in the collection. Now, if I can just figure out if these come with instructions that tell me how to put them on, I'll be all right. And for number 1, the Space Hippie 01. These are $130, my favorite of the pack, and I'm just gonna keep it simple. I love it that they're simple. All right, it's time for this week's Hard Pass, where we take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like staying silent in these times. Look, I wasn't upset when Drew Brees said that he couldn't agree with anybody that kneels in protest during the national anthem. To him, the flag is a symbol of unity, and that's what he sees when he sees it. He thinks of his grandparents who fought in World War II. I don't fault him for that at all. When I see symbols that I feel represent my grandparents and my ancestors and what they went through so that I could have the life that I have, I get emotional as well. As a matter of fact, it is true. Millions of Americans have sacrificed themselves both in war, across the world, and at home so that people like myself and Breeze will be able to have the freedom to express our views. Good on Drew for having such a bond with the flag and the anthem. So with that in mind, I'm going to express my thoughts and opinions. Drew Brees is one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. He has helped New Orleans rebuild in the wake of Hurricane Katrina and has given so much of himself, both in his time and money. He might as well be a literal saint in that area. You know, he has spent countless hours with people in the community who have had to deal with hardships and atrocities that he could never imagine happening to him and his family. In 2016, when he was asked about the protest that began with Colin Kaepernick, Brees said that while he agrees with what Cap was fighting over, he doesn't think that it should be during the anthem and in front of the flag.
The thing that I disagree with was the fact that there is a person who is disrespecting the flag of the United States of America to try to make that point. So it's not that I disagreed with the protest. In fact, I agree. It's very valid.
Fine, whatever. But the thing is, he kept that same energy in the time since, and I'm baffled as to how and why. How is it that in the 4 years since then, he hasn't figured out that it was never about the flag and it was never about disrespecting the troops or his grandparents? Why did he choose to make it about something it wasn't in 2016 and in 2020? And if you really want to talk about the flag, why does Drew feel like his views are the only ones that matter? What about the black people who also served during World War II and came home to a country that didn't honor their service or let them sit at the same table or let their kids go to the same schools as their white counterparts? Basically, Drew Brees is okay with protests as long as he's comfortable. And he's not the only one I've noticed on social media unconsciously that says this. He just happened to be the most glaring name to say it. But that's not what protests are about. It's about being uncomfortable and facing truths that are hard to accept. Drew can believe all of those things he said about the flag, but what he can't do is use it as a crutch and or as a blindfold to the injustices that go on. He probably thought posting a black square on Instagram was enough, and I'm sure a lot of people and a lot of brands thought posting a black square on Instagram was enough. By the way, I can tell some of you just covered your camera lens or did something else besides Google the color black. Paul Pierce. I mean, even Pikachu tweeted the Black Lives Matter. Alexis Ohanian Sr., co-founder of Reddit, or as the world knows him better as, Serena Williams' husband, stepped down from his position on the company's board and urged them to replace him with a black candidate. How are we living in a world where Psyduck and the guy who gave us Pimp My Ride AMA is more of an ally than Drew Brees? You know it's bad when LeBron is crossing into different sports and calling you out. Now, to his credit, Drew did apologize after getting backlash from his own teammates and NFL legends like Ed Reed, even if he didn't really explain why he still thought it was about the flag in 2020. He said that he should do less talking and more listening, and when the black community is talking about their pain, we all need to listen. Well, we'll see how this plays out. My hope is that the message behind the kneeling is finally bearing fruit and that we can continue to fight without having to worry about making others uncomfortable. And I already know some of you in the stick to the shoes crowd are ready to pounce in the comments. That's fine. I get it. I mean, I understand you live in a bubble of ignorance and pretend like everything is fine and how part of that bubble is me unboxing shoes. But it's disingenuous of me to talk about the culture that I love and profess to be about and not express my feelings. Hard Pass will continue to be what it is always about. Dorky jokes about sneakers, wild tangents where Scottie Pippen raps, and heartfelt conversations about what's really going on in the culture. We can't ignore it. Not when there are peaceful protests out there demanding justice for Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and everybody else who has had their lives taken away by police brutality. Not when sneaker stores caught in the middle like Studio 23 in Minneapolis or Sneaker Politics in Dallas are looted by very fine people trying to undermine our fight and incite violence to create chaos. Not when there are brands and influencers who claim to be allies but stay silent in this time because they don't want to mess up their bag. And especially not when we have a president that quotes a decades-old line that glorifies violence against us and then uses violence to get a photo op. The protests that you see are a result of the frustration when our faces are good enough for people in power to put on sneakers and make money off of, but not good enough to be given the benefit of the doubt when we're out for a jog. And if that makes you uncomfortable, well, ask Drew Brees how that worked out for him. Now Drew's out here calling out the president on Instagram. That might be the fastest face-to-heel to face turn I've seen in a very long time. But just like everything, we'll see if this is just good PR or if it's something real. And I don't mean just for Drew. All right, that's going to be it for Hard Pass. Thank you guys for watching. I am your host, Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week. Peace.